In the Karoo Desert, in an oasis surrounded by a tangle of thorns, lives a herd of zebras, who have exclusive access to the only lake in the area. One day, when he realizes that Lungisa is about to give birth, when they realize that only half of Khumba's body is striped, everyone is horrified and starts making fun of him, except his parents, who consider the little guy to be perfect just the way he is. From the day Khumba was born, the rain clouds disappeared and, as time went by, the lake began to dry up. That day, while walking alone in the oasis, the young animal meets a praying mantis and the insect draws him a map in the sand. Then Tombi shows up to see if his friend is okay, but Khumba considers himself responsible for causing the drought, so he believes he deserves to be excluded by the others. When he leaves, the young animal approaches the fence and comes across some oryx asking for help, because the old animal in his herd is ill and needs water. In order to help them, the zebra decides to open a passage and allow the animals to cross the fence. In doing so, Khumba comes across a large herd and is surprised to discover that there is a whole world to be explored on the other side of those thorns. When they notice the presence of intruders in the oasis, the whole herd gathers to form a barrier and prevent them from approaching the lake. So the oryx decide to leave, and as they are crossing the fence, a hungry leopard appears. While attacking the antelopes, the feline smells the young zebra and walks towards it. Immediately, Khumba tries to lower the branch and gets his father's help to close the fence. After the scare, Khumba goes to visit his mother and brings her some food, as he knows that Lungisa is not in good health. Realizing that her son is upset, she decides to reveal to him the meaning of his name. Lungisa says that, according to legend, the first zebras to exist on Earth had completely white skin and no stripes. One day, a young zebra went on a journey through the vast Karoo Desert and, at the bottom of a huge mountain, he found a magical lake. This young animal then decided to swim in the lake and, when he came out of the water, his body was covered in stripes. He was proud that his skin was different from the others, but when the rest of the herd saw his stripes, they all decided to jump into the lake and look like each other. He immediately runs to look at the map drawn by the praying mantis and comes to the conclusion that the insect was trying to show him the way to the magic lake. Hours later, Khumba sees all the zebras gathering around his mother and discovers that she is eliminated. Seeing the suffering of his father and the rest of the gang, the young animal feels even more encouraged to set off on his journey, hoping that if he gets stripes, the rain clouds will return. When he crosses to the other side of the fence, Khumba comes across an African wild dog and Skulk says he can take him to the magic lake. After a few minutes of walking, the pair come across Mama V and Bradley. Just then, other wild dogs appear and decide to devour the zebra. Skulk's initial idea was to use Khumba as a bargaining chip to get water from the zebra shelter, but when he realizes that his friends have banded together to attack Khumba, the dog joins the rest of the pack and surrounds the animal. However, Mama V decides to protect him and attacks all the predators that try to get close to him. Thanks to her enormous size, the wildebeest manages to get rid of the dogs and takes revenge on Skulk for luring Khumba into a trap. When he discovers that the zebra is on his way to a lake, Mama V and Bradley decide to accompany him and the three of them follow the clues left by the praying mantis. That night, Siko is desperately looking for his son when Tombi finds the map drawn in the sand and discovers that his friend has gone. Skulk is gathered with his gang at dawn when Pengo appears to devour him. In an attempt to get out of the situation alive, the dog tells him that there is a young zebra walking in the desert and shows him the way they went. Hours later, Siko shows up and sees the feline's footprints mixed in with his son's, and comes to the conclusion that Khumba has been eliminated. Saddened by the cub's perishment, he returns to the oasis and breaks the sad news to everyone. After facing a long journey, the trio finally receives their well-deserved reward and manages to reach a lake. However, after his first dive, Khumba is frustrated because his stripes haven't appeared. Suddenly, a small group of animals from different species approaches and welcomes the new residents of the Ying Animal Sanctuary, where South Africa's most varied species take refuge. The problem is that this is not a natural sanctuary, but a shelter built by humans, where the animals are mere attractions. When the humans show up, they try to throw tranquilizer darts at the zebra, but it's Bradley who ends up getting hit and faints. Realizing that he is being hunted by these people, Khumba flees and is pursued by the vehicles. Khumba tries to escape in every possible way, but ends up being surrounded and captured by a truck. Determined to save the young zebra, Rabbit jumps onto the windshield of the truck and causes an accident. When the vehicle overturns, Khumba manages to escape and the rabbit reveals that only one animal knows the way to the magical lake. The creature then advises the zebra to climb the mountain and look for the black eagle. Immediately, the creature attacks the young zebra and asks why the animal has come there. However, when it finds out that Khumba wants its help to get his stripes, the bird decides to point the way and reveals that the place the zebra is looking for is called Nile Mountain. To get there, the zebra will have to go around a salt pan to find Pango's cave. The leopard who was born blind in one eye was excluded from his pack and abandoned by his own kind when he was still a cub. What no one imagined was that blindness would give him a better sense of smell than any other feline, and, when he grew up, Pango became a great hunter. After getting revenge on his family, he turned into a bitter creature who continues to harm other animals for pleasure. Just before nightfall, Khumba and his friends arrive in the Valley of Desolation and, after crossing it, find an abandoned farm, where they decide to stop and rest. They are about to drink the water from a fountain when a sheep dressed as a wild sheep comes out of the house and starts chasing them with its fake horns. Knowing that his friends would not accompany him on this trip if they knew that the lake was in the leopard's cave, Khumba decided to hide this information, and now Mama V and Bradley no longer trust him. Hours later, Mama V and Bradley decide to go in the opposite direction and end up being found by the leopard. Pango chases them through the desert and manages to surround them. The feline is looking for Khumba and asks where he has gone, so, in order not to be devoured, the ostrich reveals that his friend is on his way to Nile Mountain. Immediately, Pango goes after him and Mama V says that they must find Khumba before he is devoured. After a few days of walking, the zebras come across some clouds and are relieved to learn that a storm is approaching. At this point, the gang come across a rabbit and the other animals from the sanctuary and discover that they are on their way to meet Khumba. Arriving at the cave, Khumba sees some drawings on the wall and soon realizes that he has found the right place. The zebra then crosses a small passage in search of the lake. Its father tries to go after them, but his body is too big to cross, so the wildebeest uses its horns to try and break the rock. Finally, after weeks of searching the desert for Khumba, Pango manages to find him and remains hidden in the darkness, waiting for the right moment to attack the young zebra. While walking through the cave, Khumba comes across the magical lake and feels that all his efforts to cross the Karoo Desert have paid off. Then, when the cub is about to enter the water to get his reward, he realizes that he doesn't want to be like all the zebras and comes to the conclusion that the color of his coat is something that makes him unique. Just then, Pango appears and tells him about the prophecy that says a zebra with only half of its body striped will be born and make one of the leopards the most powerful animal in the desert. Realizing that he is about to be devoured, Khumba immediately runs away and is chased by the leopard, which, while running at high speed, ends up slipping and knocking down numerous rocks that were supporting the cave. When Pango goes after him, the rock can't support the weight of his body and the feline ends up being crushed. To avoid suffering the same fate as his enemy, the young animal decides to jump into the water and all his friends rush to the lake to rescue him. When Siko approaches his son, he sees Tombi next to him and everyone comes to the conclusion that Khumba is eliminated. Just then, for the first time in years, it starts to rain and, at the same time, another miracle happens. Khumba starts breathing again. Relieved, everyone celebrates the young man's life and Tombi runs to hug him. From that day on, the different species lived together in perfect harmony in the new oasis that had been formed, and Khumba finally began to be seen in a positive light by the other zebras who had despised him. After all this traveling, this group of survivors discovers that the differences between them are precisely what make them stronger.